I'll be debunking Aizen's fan statements that he planned all of Ichigo's life. For any debates, you can add me on Discord. You can also call me the Pushide Gobbler 9000. Sosuke Aizen boasts that he knew Ichigo since he was born, and that all of Ichigo's battles have played out in the palm of his hand. In chapter 314, 315, after Ichigo's final attack on Aizen, Aizen explicitly claims he arranged Ichigo's entire development, noting Ichigo's meetings with Rukia, fights with Uryu, Renji, Kenpachi, Byakuya, Grimmjow, Ulquiorra, etc., and that each battle has gone the way he desired. Despite Aizen's claims, the manga provides little evidence that he directly orchestrated these aspects of Ichigo's life. There is no scene, flashback, or implication showing Aizen observing, influencing, or even knowing about Masaki Kurosaki's identity as a Quincy, Isshin Shiba's fall from captaincy or decision to live as a human, the birth or early childhood of Ichigo. These are formative events. If Aizen truly planned Ichigo's life, we would expect at least one scene showing surveillance, a conversation, or a directive acknowledging this child's importance. There is none, since this is SCD. Narrative feats or actual feats, so we can debate this too. On the contrary, Aizen's revealed plans focus on the Oken, key to the end, and the Soul King, not on grooming Ichigo. Official sources summarize Aizen's actions as eliminating Soul Society's leaders and staging Rukia's execution to retrieve the Hogyoku, then aiming to destroy Karakura town and reach the Soul King. Only in retrospect does Aizen arrogantly claim credit for Ichigo's growth. Aizen's true goals, such as 202 and 21, 24. The manga shows Aizen's objective was creating the Oken. He staged the fake execution of Rukia to extract the Hogyoku and faked his death in Soul Society. These chapters make no mention of Ichigo. Aizen's focus was the Oken and confronting the Soul King, not Ichigo's personal journey. Ichigo's heritage final or later chapters reveal Ichigo's Quincy blood and Masaki's hollow fate were actually due to Yuak's meddling, not Aizen. The novel twist is that Masaki's hollow affliction was orchestrated by a stern ritter, Yuak's army, and Ichigo's Quincy trait comes from his mother's lineage. There is no manga evidence that Aizen influenced Ichigo's birth or innate powers. Rukia and Karakura. In the manga, Rukia goes to the human world to rescue Orihime and loses her powers, leading to her giving Ichigo power. This mission is driven by Soul Society orders via Yoruichi Urahara after the Hogyoku incident, not by Aizen. Rukia's presence in Karakura was a coincidence in story terms, not a scheme by Aizen. Hollow attacks. The first hollow attack, the one Masaki defends against, was caused by Stern Ritter Pesce under Yuwak's influence, as shown in later chapters. The Menos that appeared during Uryu's bait training, a Rankar arc, was a natural phenomenon of hollow behavior, not an Aizen construct. The manga never depicts Aizen sending these hollows. In fact, Aizen already had the Hogyoku and no need to create hollows for Ichigo. Major battles, Ichigo's fights in Soul Society, Renji, Byakuya occur because Rukia's capture happened independently of Ichigo. She volunteered to aid Orihime and later picked up the Hogyoku. In Weko Mundo, Ichigo's battles with Grimmjow and Ulquiorra were simply battles in a war zone. Aizen did empower the Espada generally, but these fights weren't staged for Ichigo's sake. For example, Grimmjow Chao attacked Ichigo for personal reasons, seeking challenge, and Ulquiorra pursued Orihime on his own orders. None of these confrontations are presented as Aizen's handiwork in the manga. Other key events, Ichigo's Dangai training, Chess 407, 414, and the Fullbring arc, Chess 428, 439, involve Urahara, the Fullbringers, and Ichigo's own determination. Aizen had no role in Ichigo regaining or mastering his powers after they were lost. Indeed, the manga emphasizes Ichigo's personal effort in these arcs. In short, aside from letting Rukia carry the Hogyoku, which indirectly led to Ichigo's involvement, Aizen does not appear to intervene in Ichigo's life until he explicitly claims pulling strings behind the scenes for the events above. Moreover, Ichigo's own actions demonstrate his independence. After the Aizen battle, Ichigo spends 17 months training in the Dangai, 409-414, a journey begun of his own resolve, not directed by anyone. In the final battle with Yuak, Ichigo prevails through his own will and the combined strength of his friends, not by fulfilling Aizen's plan. From the very first chapter, Ichigo acts on his own resolve. When a hollow attacks his home, Ichigo breaks free of Rukia's binding spells to save his sister, and Rukia explicitly notes Ichigo's determination to protect his family, giving her the confidence to grant him Soul Reaper powers. This is not a puppet's action, but a personal choice. Ichigo chooses to become a Soul Reaper to protect others, not because anyone ordered him to. Rukia's narration in Chapter 1 highlights this. Seeing Ichigo's determination to protect his family, Rukia transfers half of her power to him. Ichigo immediately uses those powers of his own free will, e.g., dispatching the Hollow, saving his family by his own decision. Later in the Soul Society arc, Ichigo repeatedly defies orders and goes on the offensive out of personal conviction. For example, when Renji warns that Ichigo must defeat all Shinigami captains to save Rukia, Ichigo shrugs off any chance of stopping and volunteers to fight any who get in his way. In that confrontation, Renji accuses Ichigo of arrogance. Ichigo snaps back that it is my duty to save her, underscoring that he himself carries that responsibility, not any Soul Society law. After gaining new training, Ichigo taps into his own determination and releases full power to defeat Renji. Again, these moments are Ichigo's own choice of action, not the result of external compulsion. Later, when Ichigo finally reaches Rukia's execution, he flatly announces to her, Rukia, I've come to save you. Chapter 116, ignoring captain instructions and Soul Society protocol. I have to save her. Ichigo to Renji, 96. Even Renji is startled when Ichigo insists, Idiot! I didn't say I wanted to save her. I said I have to save her. This line, chapter 96, shows Ichigo making the decision himself. It's his own drive. I have to at work. If they get in my way, I will fight them all. Ichigo to Renji in Soul Society. He does not hold back against any number of officers. He chooses to fight every obstructing Shinigami if necessary. It's my duty to save her. In the same fight, Renji blames Ichigo for Rukia's predicament. Ichigo retorts that he personally is bound to rescue her. This duty comes from his own promise, not any higher order. Rukia, I've come to save you. Upon reaching Rukia, 116, Ichigo plainly states his purpose. He has openly broken every rule of Soul Society by coming, and does so because he willed it. Each of these quotes, from chapters 96 and 116, shows Ichigo actively asserting his intent. He never waits for permission or blames his orders. He tells others what he will do, then does it. Ichigo's self-determined actions continue through the Arrancar Hueco Mundo arcs. When Orihime is kidnapped by Aizen's forces, Ichigo immediately vows to rescue her, a promise made entirely from his own heart. Soul Society forbids it, but Ichigo chooses to invade the Hueco Mundo with Orihime's classmates and Chad at his side. He decides alone that Orihime's life is more important than any command structure. For example, when Renji urges caution in Hueco Mundo, Ichigo replies that Orihime chose him and he will not back down. These manga moments underline that Ichigo fights for friends by his own choice. In fact, during the climax against Grimmjow, Orihime cries out to protect Ichigo, and he finds the resolve to stand his ground. Similarly, later Ichigo returns to Karakura Town and ultimately the Soul Society, the fake Karakura battle, entirely by his own initiative. He even refuses aid from Urahara at first, training himself in the Dangai to become stronger. At each step he chooses to push forward. In short, at no point is Ichigo merely a passive pawn. His journey is driven by his personal decisions to protect others and keep his word. People could argue Aizen used his emotional understanding and read all of Ichigo's actions, though this is not supported in any material nor is shown explicitly or implicitly or logically derived on screen. When Ichigo finally confronts Aizen in Karakura, Aizen tries every trick, hypnosis, lies, illusions, to bend Ichigo's will. But Ichigo's spirit resists. Urahara's guidance, trust your instincts, helps Ichigo break free of Kyoka Suigetsu's mind control, and Ichigo ultimately shatters Aizen's illusions by tapping his own power. In the battle, Ichigo consciously unleashes Mugetsu on his own terms, knowing it will cost him dearly. None of this was written by Aizen, it was Ichigo's choice in the heat of battle. In other words, Aizen never programmed Ichigo, Ichigo consciously chose to fight and protect up to the last moment. This is borne out by the manga and supporting sources. Even notes that Aizen's planning was limited. For example, Bleach lore explains that Aizen's true involvement was to create a hollow white and unleash it on Karakura town. This hollow attack involving Ichigo's parents eventually led to Masaki Kurosaki being bitten. However, Aizen did not foresee exactly what this would yield. Even Eisen had no idea what to anticipate from those events. In fact, that analysis concludes Eisen provided Ichigo with the very means, through Masaki's holification, to become strong. In other words, Eisen set a few dominoes in motion, but did not actually pull every string. Bleach Wiki even admits Eisen arranged Ichigo's battles and growth, i.e., he created challenges, but Ichigo himself chose how to handle each battle. Thus, Aizen's boast that Ichigo's life was his puppet show is a misunderstanding. All the concrete manga evidence points the other way. Ichigo repeatedly makes independent decisions, choosing to fight, protecting friends, breaking rules when he believes it's right, and only responds to circumstances that Aizen set up. Aizen's plan might have created opportunity, but Ichigo's will determined the outcome.